We'll talk a little Miami Heat now with Andre Fernandez from The Athletic. And, of course, you can follow him on Twitter at Fernandez Andre C. Last night, the Miami Heat, they ended up losing to the Clippers 122 to 117, dropping the record to 31-14 and a 20-2 home record, suffering their second loss of the season at home, both to the Clippers and to the Lakers now. So they've lost to two West Coast teams, two of the elite teams, actually. In the we just came off that Hall of Fame elite conversation. Oh, hey, man, right now the Heat are only losing to elite teams at home, and they're considered really, really good, maybe not elite. You know what I'm saying? So, but does that mean the Heat are Hall of Fame worthy also? There you go. All right, we are going to get into it right now with Andre Fernandez. And remember, Andre, you can follow him on Twitter at Fernandez Andre C. Catch his exceptional work at The Athletic. Remember to subscribe to Athletic. It's like a joke. It's like $4 a month or something. And you get coverage of all your teams. I'm sure they're going to add an Inter-Miami reporter very soon now. And you'll get the Nation, too, at the same time. Let's bring him aboard. Andre, good morning, my man. How are you doing?
Good, buddy. How's it going?
Oh, man, loving life, my brother. It's a beautiful thing. So when are you guys announcing your Inter-Miami reporter?
We're working on it. I know they've been writing some stuff here and there on them. Most of the important stuff. But I'm hoping soon. I'm hoping any day maybe we got some good news on that front. That'll be good.
That should happen though. You move the budget over from Marlins to Inter, which is really, really smart on your part because you're gonna get a lot more business on that end. All right, let's get to brass tacks here. Let's get to the real deal. The Heat last night. Hey man, having said everything going on, the injury to Butler in that game, the guys that were already out, and I know that they were missing Paul George and they were missing Beverly, so they were missing two pieces. But overall, I thought it was a hell of a performance by that team yesterday, even down the stretch, man, when they were in the hole again and they came back to make it interesting.
Right. Well, I think, people probably, the way the season's gone, they've had a few ups and downs. People forget that the Clippers were a lot of people's championship pick coming in.
Yep.
And they showed that at times last night, the talent they have on the floor when it's all put together. I mean, it wasn't even all put together, like you said, but at the same time, you could see when Kawhi is on, when he hits those stretches like that. I was just talking right now saying I could not believe that was his first career triple-double. Like, I was in total shock when I saw the tweet, But again, the Heat, some of the stories of the night, one of the biggest ones, obviously, Dion actually stepping on the floor and then, contributing and, doing, what he did at the end there with the two blocks, the three, moments where he contributed on the floor was good to see. Finally, he was like the last remaining holdout of the guys that, we've talked about that before, what's been going on with him and this season to get guys that can contribute off the bench like that. So it's interesting to see where that storyline goes from here on out.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. But getting back to Kawhi, that's the difference, my brother, when we see, Jimmy's an all-star. Bam might be playing like an all-star at this point in time, but a superstar turns it on whenever they want. And that's the thing about that guy and how he can elevate whoever he's with, whether it's San Antonio, Toronto, or last night, the Clippers.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you see the not just the way he creates to the rim, the way he finds teammates. I mean, like I said, that's why I could not believe that he's never had, a triple-double before because, it's not like he's just a shooter. It's not like he's just a scorer. The guy can, he has, all-around facets to his game, and you saw that on display last night and, picked up a big win for them because, they've had, that report that came out of it for us that saying that, things haven't been exactly, great on, behind the scenes with them this year. But when they turn it on and, once they get George back, they get Beverly back and imagine how, they're going to face the Heat again. I mean, Miami's going to LA in a couple of weeks. So we'll see how that goes with the rematch.
Listen, all that stuff is blown out of proportion. It's because they've got weed legal there in California because I don't know what the hell Montrezl Harrell is smoking, They had won 6 of 8 going into that game last night, and now 7 of 9. Doesn't sound to me like a team that's freaking struggling, dude. I mean, if you're the Atlanta Hawks and you want to talk about that there's chaos, or you want to talk about you're not happy if you're the Portland Trailblazers, I can get that situation.
Right.
And the other thing is, brother, if you're going to complain about preferential treatment for Kawhi or Paul George on that team, then you're a moron, because you got no shot at a title without those two guys and without taking care of them for the whole season, right?
No, absolutely. No, you see, that's what makes that team click. Like you said, I mean, Kawhi can elevate to another level. Once you get Paul George back, you have that kind of a star again. And that supporting cast is really good. You know, Lou Williams, him, the players they have there kind of all around the mix there. When it's on, you got a little bit of a glimpse of that last night, and I think down the stretch you'll see it even more.
Yeah, and hell, our guy's competing with Lou Williams for 6th Man of the Year. Only problem is he can't stay healthy. Damn it! Dude? What's going on? What is it? My theory is the worst thing Goran did, and I know it was great for him and his country, but the worst thing he did a few years back was go play in that European tournament. I think that ended up being the nail in the coffin that put so much wear and tear on his body that it's never recovered from that point on. And I think it all stems from that. But that's just me. I'm not a doctor, and I didn't sleep in a Holiday Inn last night.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I thought, that was the first thing I told Manny last time. Like, that's what they missed the most. I mean, out of the guys that were hurt, even more than Kendrick Nunn. At times last night when things started to slip away, I'm like, this is when Dragic could come in off the bench if he wasn't in the game already and flip the tide. We saw him do that the game before when they were struggling against the Wizards. He was part of that second unit that came in and lit it up and, turned things on. He's done that a bunch of times this year. Physically, yeah, I mean, he's even had to change the way he plays. You saw he's shooting more threes this year than he ever has. Luckily, in a good way, he's been more accurate than he's been in years from that end, but he's had to make those adjustments to compensate for some of this wear and tear. I mean, I don't think it's anything serious, but it's just unfortunate that, again, it seems like he keeps getting these little nagging injuries. He got the groin earlier this year. Now this, who knows, maybe this could sit him down for a couple games or we'll see. I mean, we'll find out more tomorrow, but, it's just annoying that you can't, if this continues to pop up because he's a little older now because of the wear and tear.
Let me ask you, how serious or what do you know about the Kendrick Nunn injury?
Well, that's what we're going to have to find out a little bit more tomorrow. But I know when I saw Achilles, or whenever I see Achilles, I'm a little bit like, uh-oh, because obviously it's not something that, it's something, it raises alarm bells just hearing that word. So I think tomorrow practice, you might hopefully get a better indication of that. But that would be, extremely unfortunate seeing what he's become this year and, the role that he plays with them in their starting lineup and just the offense he can generate. I mean, he's been their leading scorer a bunch of times this year, and we know the story. It's one of the surprise stories of the league this year.
So, what do we know about Jimmy Butler, my brother?
Well, the rolled ankle. I mean, I guess today is one of those days where he'd probably come in, probably get some treatment, see some, get reevaluated a little bit. But it could be, similar to Goran, like one of those day-to-day situations. Let's see how it responds over the next couple of days. I mean, the thing is now with this back-to-back Monday and Tuesday, it's very surprising to me if all of them are back for Monday for sure against Orlando. And then even that within itself, how they have to manage it a little bit, see how much one guy plays or whatnot with these injuries. So, I mean, the banged up Heat going into these next two, and then, the Celtics game on Tuesday is going to be big as well. Any clash with any of these 5 teams that they're battling right now. But I think the one I think I'm concerned about the most just because of the nature of what it is with Nunn.
Yeah, definitely. Achilles is something that scares the hell out of me, man. Andre Fernandez, of course, with The Athletic, covers the Heat every day. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Fernandez Andre C, and you catch his work there at The Athletic. All right, so let's get into Dion. Dion played last night, 18 minutes, 5 of 12, 4 of 9 from three-point range, obviously, 2 ugly air balls in all of that. Had the 2 blocks and the 4 rebounds overall. Now, Andre, first of all, what'd you think of that performance? Because it wasn't efficient as a shooter overall, but as a three-point shooter, it was efficient. 5 of 12 isn't, but 4 of 9 is.
Yeah, not bad from the perimeter and not bad in that, but like my buddy Manny wrote today in his story, you wonder if Dion still even has we've seen a decline in like that first step, that explosiveness to the basket. It wasn't like vintage Dion. It wasn't him, attacking the rim. That's what maybe just did it like once, and I think he was blocked if I remember correctly. I mean, some of that could have been rust and could get better with more chances like last night, but it's obviously not the same player as he was since before the surgery. So in terms of just the basketball player Dion, I don't know what kind of player he would be at this stage, removed from the surgery at this much time. He's obviously missed so much game action. He's been in practices, but not this kind of thing. So it's going to take a while to get his legs back there. And then the bigger question, which is the other thing that he wrote about today, was, does this even give a prayer of a chance that he'd have some trade value before February 6th? I mean, it doesn't seem like much, and we know all the baggage that, has been well documented with him. And that's where I don't think teams, plus the money that he's owed, I don't think teams would really flinch that or change their stance too much. But I don't know. If he plays the next 5 games and he looks even better than last night, does that move the needle maybe in the Heat's direction to be able to move him? We'll see. That's another interesting thing to follow.
That to me, Andre, is everything now. Does he learn his lesson? Does he build from this? Does he become an idiot again? How does he handle the opportunity? Does he wait patiently? Because if he looks around and he looks at the landscape, he has to say, well, Goran breaks down all the time. I'm going to have other opportunities. If I just
Jimmy's had
you're going to have opportunities. So because he's got one more year on this contract, correct?
Right. Yeah,
so
12.6, something like 12.6 million, I think, next year. One more, that's it.
Right, so it's up to you, dude. Maybe you can do something. You're not going to move now before the trading deadline. That's not going to happen. But next in the offseason, maybe you might be able to find another home if you actually, for the next half of this year, prove that you can be a team player and be all of that. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Does Dion Waiters behave from here to the end of the season? What's the percentage you put on it, Andre?
I don't know if I can put it completely over 50%. I really don't, just because of past history. I mean, I'd like to think so, but, there's too much history there that makes you think too good to be true sometimes, with him. And like something's going to pop up. You just have that paranoid feeling like you're going to hear something at some point. But, I mean, I don't know if I can look past it the next couple of weeks, put it that way. Like, I have to see how he comes back in. I mean, he's going to get – I would think he gets more opportunity now, especially if this Butler thing lingers a little bit. The Dragic injury lingers a little bit the next couple games here. And against good opponents, like we talked about, the Celtics, the Clippers again. But long-term, TBA, my friends, I don't know. Too much there.
Hey, dude, don't overlook these next 2 Orlando games, okay?
And the Orlando games. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
they always fight them up there, too.
Yeah, well, they're a playoff team because they're in the playoff bracket.
Right.
But they're a pain in the ass to the Miami Heat, and it's a home and an away game. So you're
and they're the 2-7 matchup right now if the season ended today.
Yes, exactly. So while those other teams you mentioned are good, this team, man, somehow or another they give them trouble.
Yeah.
Now, Andre, let me ask you something. The other night when you watched him bench 5 guys and bring the other 5 on, what'd you think of that? And what has been kind of the reaction from players about that when you've asked them individually?
I didn't see too much of a reaction, but one thing I did find interesting was I thought it was ballsy because if you think about the fact that Butler was part of the benching, and I don't mean that in that, everything has gone well, Jimmy's fit well, but how many times does a coach, bench his star player, bench his max player? He benches him, he benches Bam, who I know is starting to emerge as that type of guy. So it just shows you how Spo is, that he will do that, and it won't matter which guy is within that strategy or that move. If he feels like you're not bringing it at that point in time, you're not you're not impacting the game the way it needs to be, and it clearly wasn't. Like he said, it was a no-brainer. They were getting outscored, 26-6 or 20-0 at one point. He had to do it, but I just thought it was cool to see like a coach really take that and really, that's the remarkable part. Usually you don't do that when your max player is one of those guys that you're sending to the bench and then sending him for a whole quarter too.
Yeah, yeah. No, but I mean, that's well, hey, Jimmy's the guy that said, hey, Spo will cuss your ass out right away. So,
Right. Exactly.
But then again, Jimmy's one of those guys that responds to tough coaching. He doesn't care. It doesn't bother him. He's not one of these, really touchy millennials or Generation Zs that these kind of kids, man, you tell them something nasty, and boy, they will carry that thing like luggage for the rest of their lives. They're like, they have been just broken for the rest of their lives because you told them something nasty. They would, millennials and Generation Zs would never survive with our parents. I mean, never. So with our parents and grandparents, oh my Lord, they would have been. Those kids would have been mentally tortured for the rest of their lives with the people that we grew with.
And that's the thing about Jimmy, but again, credit in a way to him being that way, and then Spo also knowing him enough what they've been through so far. But even then, this isn't a guy that you've had on your team 3, 4, 5 years either. So again, I just credit the fact that a lot of coaches probably wouldn't have done that, but like I said, ballsy move, and he knows, they have their standards, and he has his standards, and he decided to do something like that. It was really interesting to see that.
Andre, is there a difference for this team now when they're facing Orlando? Like, do they look at it? I know they might give you the company line, like, hey, we take every game seriously and all of that. But internally, is there something amongst the franchise and the team? It's like, hey, this team's given us way too many problems. They've beaten us more than they should. We've been better than them the last 3 years, and we continue to lose to them. I'm just wondering, what kind of an attitude is there about this damn game?
I mean, I think they have to. I mean, you look at that, and even when they're undermanned, I mean, this last time that they lost, it was another one of these games where they're shorthanded. They had just lost one of their best players and still came out, still gave them trouble, still pulled away at the end of the game, and Miami just looked flat. But in general, they've had too many of those games this year where you just don't want you keep every time you think that they've figured it out and they're not susceptible to one of these like upsets, to one of these like lower than 500 teams coming up and biting them, and them having these poor stretches of play on the defensive end. Two of those games pass, and then here comes another one.
Right.
The Sacramento game, they come back and they pull it off. Washington, they almost blow it. They almost blow that game. So even in some of these victories, the defense hasn't been up to standard. They keep having the inconsistent stretches, and I think they have to tell themselves that's right at the top. Orlando's right at the top of the list of those teams that have continuously bit Miami in that way. And here they come again, and then you're going to get them twice within a week. There's a stretch where you want to kind of keep your seeding the way it is. You want to stay in the dogfight between these 5 teams. You better win these games.
And how screwed up is it that you talked about that characteristic, yet they're 8-0 in overtime games? So in overtime games, when it gets crunch time, they find a way to win those games, which to me is a sign that you're a pretty damn good team overall when you're able to do that. But how helter-skelter is that, dude?
Yeah, I mean, and I had an interesting talk with Bam the other day about that, and how he kept saying, we do a good job of that, of bringing it when it counts, late in the fourth quarter, in the overtime periods. The defense takes it up a notch, but they have to just find a way to consistently do that throughout a game, just so they're not in that predicament to begin with, and fighting one of these teams, fighting for your lives down the wire, because that takes a toll. And you were only by game 45 on Monday. There's still a lot of regular season left, or game 46. I'm sorry. And you just, you can't have that grind night in and night out every single night, putting yourself in those situations. I mean, you can say all you want about how it toughens you up, but it's also a drain too. You have to make it to the playoffs, and in the playoffs, it's a whole different ballgame. There's a lot more like one-on-one matchups. There's a lot more concentration on guys having to make plays, like individually and on the court. A lot of those situations. So it's a whole different animal. So. So far it's been good, but at the same time, long term, they can't continue to put themselves in those spots.
Andre Fernandez does an excellent job of covering the Miami Heat for The Athletic. Follow him on Twitter at Fernandez Andre C. More importantly, subscribe to The Athletic. You will get great coverage of all your local teams and, of course, national perspective too. Andre, as always, you're a stud, my brother. Thank you for taking some time.
Thanks, buddy. Really appreciate it.
You got it,
Have
baby.
a good Saturday.
Be good, man. Thank you, sir. That's Andre Fernandez. How about that? Talking a little basketball. And we're going to have another guest coming up now here at the bottom of the hour. We're going to talk to Cameron Wolfe from ESPN. He, of course, covers the Dolphins on a daily basis, but he's been all over the Antonio Brown situation. And I've got my thoughts on that, but I'll probably share those thoughts at Hialeah Park is when we'll probably talk about that. But we'll get obviously the facts from Cameron Wolfe. He's been covering the story. We'll get his thoughts on the Dolphins. They've made some changes. They added a defensive backs coach in Gerald Alexander. So we'll get into that a little bit with him. We'll get his thoughts on the draft and everything else coming off the Senior Bowl and stuff like that. We'll get his thoughts on everything going on Dolphins-wise. So a little Dolphins, a little Antonio Brown with Cameron Wolfe. We do want to remind you that, of course, our show is proudly brought to you by Moody's Dental. They are the implant and Invisalign experts. And let me tell you something. Why don't you start off the year on the right foot right now and improve that smile? Maybe you're not smiling as bright as you would like. I know I did it because my teeth in the bottom were kind of crooked, and it's funny because I am now in my third set of my Invisaligns, and I can already tell on the right side that one of the teeth is already like moving to the side, and it's going to bring that other tooth up front, which is going to be amazing. Which I'm really happy that they're doing that, and we'll show you the before and after when it's all said and done. But whether it's implants, it's Invisaligns, whether you want to get your cavity filled, you want a crown, you want to clean your teeth, they have state-of-the-art equipment. Please call Eric Murias and all the great people at Murias Dental, 305-821-0231. Follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Murias Dental. Cameron Wolfe, we talk Dolphins. We talk Antonio Clown. Next. We promised you we're going to talk a little AB, a little Miami Dolphins. Cameron Wolfe does an excellent job, as always, covering the Miami Dolphins. And for ESPN, NFL Nation reporter. And he's also been on the crazy beat that is Antonio Brown. So we'll ask him about both things, get his thoughts on all of that. You can follow him, by the way, on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe. Let's bring him aboard. Cam, good morning, my man. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you, Big O?
Oh, I'm loving life, baby. Cannot complain out here at Craig Zinn, Acura, Pembroke Pines. All right, so you've been on this crazy beat now with Antonio Brown. You know, yesterday or 2 days ago when he comes out of jail and you're out there, I see the suit and just, Cam, do you think he still gets it? Does he really understand how deeper into the abyss he gets every single day?
I honestly don't know if he does. And I think that, everybody who sees the story and talks to me about it, there's one big takeaway. I hope that he gets help, regardless of how the case ends and, what he actually did and how much jet. Everybody wants him to get help because, whether it's Drew Rosenhaus who trapped him, whether it's the mother of his children, who said that he needed mental help.
Cam, you sound a little muffled there. I don't know if you can move a little bit there or
something. Can you hear me?
There, yeah, we hear you, but you were sounding muffled. So try it again on there. Go ahead. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I just ultimately think that more than anything, everybody wants him to get help. Whether it's a mental health issue, whether there's something going on in his personal life, he just needs to get help. And I don't know, like you mentioned, if he truly gets it. I was standing outside of the courthouse when he was running down those steps. He ran the wrong way. He was really frustrated because the car wasn't where he thought it was. He was yelling at his lawyer that he wasn't his chaperone. All of these different things after just being in jail and just having to, go through a legal case on a felony charge just kind of makes me think that, hey, Antonio Brown, we may still have a little bit to go before he fully realizes everything that he's got in front of him.
Cam, I think we've all dealt with it in our lives, whether it's with a family member or a friend or somebody that needed help. And whether we're talking about whether it was gambling or it was alcohol or it was spousal abuse or we're talking that maybe this man is obviously mentally unstable. The bottom line is, and this is what I've been saying for weeks, you need people around you that love you, that are willing to tell you the real story of what's going on, and that those are the kind of people that you may disagree with or you may not want to, but you know they love you and they're looking out for you, so you will listen to them. Is Antonio Brown surrounded by anybody, do you think, that actually loves him and actually cares about him and that isn't a hanger-on, depending on what they pay him, pay that person?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think from what I've seen the last week tracking him, he had a lot of enablers around him, a lot of yes men, a lot of people who he puts around him because they tell him things that he wants to hear. And I'm not sure if there is anybody in his circle that he listens to that can tell him that he's wrong. And like I said, Drew Rosenhaus tried to do it and it didn't work. The mother of his children tried to do it and it didn't work. So, there has to be a two-way street there. He has to have those people that are there, and then he has to be willing to listen to them. And I don't know if there's that combination for him at this point in his life. And honestly, I don't know if there is someone who he will listen to that doesn't tell him, yes, you're right, EP. And I think that's probably the first step for him to try to get better is, one, trying to figure out and accept that, hey, maybe something is going on with me. And two, listening to people when they tell him, hey, this isn't the right thing to be doing. You should be doing this. There's something going on in your life. So I think regardless of whatever happens in this court case, that's probably the most important thing to happen, for the rest of Antonio Brown's life, to be honest, because he's a young guy. And, these things have to be solved before they get worse.
Cameron Wolfe, of course, ESPN NFL Nation reporter covering the Miami Dolphins, joining us here on the program. He's been covering the Antonio Brown case. What's next for AB? What's the next court case? What's his next step? We heard the lawyers after talk about how they thought he was overcharged. And I was also laughing, but I guess it's the lawyer, he has to say it, when he was saying that there is no mental disorder here, which, I mean, come on, dude, but whatever. What's his next step?
Yeah, he's out of jail, obviously, now. He's got a GPS monitor system on him. He's got a lot of restrictions. The big thing for Antonio Brown is to not get in trouble, not to violate any of his restrictions between now and when he's got to go to court again. And, that's probably easier said than done, given all the instability that we've seen from him. So he personally has to stay out of trouble. And then it's just waiting for an arraignment. There hasn't been a date set, but I imagine sometime in the next couple of months we'll have another court hearing, and that'll be the time when he puts in his plea. I'm assuming he'll put in a not guilty plea, and it'll sort of start the proceedings. And, the lawyer I spoke with yesterday told me he expects a lengthy process. He doesn't think that this will be a few-week deal or a few-month deal. He thinks this thing will last for a while. And, the most likely, result in a lot of these cases is there's some sort of plea deal worked out before trial happens where the two sides feel comfortable with whatever consequence there is, but it avoids him, facing the maximum potential consequence. So, I think we're far away from that possible result. But, the main thing I said for AB now is to not give the police or prosecutors any more reason to say, hey, we're going to try to throw the book at you.
Yeah, no. And that's going to be, again, I almost have, it's almost like I think it's impossible at this point for him not to implode again and do something stupid and put himself in this position. Now, the trainer, Holt, that also got arrested, what's his story?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually was outside of Antonio Brown's home while we were waiting for him to turn himself in, and I actually was able to get inside the neighborhood. And I was riding by Antonio Brown's house, and outside of the house, I saw the trainer out there with a few of Antonio Brown's friends. So clearly, immediately after he got out of jail and was released, he went back to Antonio Brown's home and, was hanging out with him. So clearly this incident didn't affect their relationship in one bit. He's out on a $20,000 bond on a burglary with battery charge as well. Another serious charge, but it's not as trumped up of charges as Antonio Brown's, who has 3 charges. So he'll have to go through court the same way as Antonio Brown will. albeit with less media attention. And, he'll have to figure out his legal situation as well. So they're both, having to deal with this matter that, they've had a significant hand in. And, in the months ahead, we'll see exactly how willing the Broward County prosecutors are to levy a deal with them.
Cameron, I would imagine we're going to see a civil lawsuit from the driver. Does that civil lawsuit come after the courts have already rendered their decision that he's either guilty or not of assault, or is that something that he can already do and start the process of a civil lawsuit going after Antonio Bryant? Because I would imagine that that's the inevitable, my man.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, a high-profile athlete, he knows he has a lot of money. Any reasonable person thinks that's probably coming. And there's not really a timeline there. He could start it actually now if he wanted to. A lot of times, in my experience, civil cases happen after the criminal case because you have all the information,
right,
and you can use that in your case. But if he wanted to, get the ball rolling and really want to expedite this thing, he could civil case tomorrow. There has been no real signs that that's what he's going to do yet. But I agree with you that it makes a lot of sense for him to go ahead and try to get whatever money he can out of the festival.
Cameron, you got a little muffled there at the end, so whatever it is, don't do it again, please, because then we lose you a little bit there. All right, let's move over to the Dolphins, my man. A week at the Senior Bowl. I know you weren't there, but after everything that went on and is going on in this offseason, you got the people that say you need to trade up to try to get Tua if you have to. The people that say stay at number 5 and draft Tua. The people like me that say draft the best player, don't draft an injured player, or trade down and get more picks. So where does Cameron Wolfe stand? Well, if you had to play the GM, how do you stand at number 5? What do you do with the quarterback situation? How do you work all of that, my man?
I'm quarterback at best. I know it may not be the way you want to go, but I think I've waited too long. And I think there's definitely some talented quarterbacks in this crop. You got 3 first-round picks, including 1 at 5. I think you sit there and take the best quarterback available at 5, and I think there's a good chance that that's Tua Tagovailoa. So that's the boat I'm in. I think that they can't keep kicking the can down the road, hoping that next year they'll be in better position to get whoever they want. If we expect them to be better with all the money and draft picks they have, they're not going to be in a good position to draft Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields next year. So I think that, for this rebuild to really get booted up, it's got to get a quarterback. So whether they fall in love with Justin Herbert, whether the medicals clear out with Tua Tagovailoa, whether for some reason they figure out Jordan Love and think that he may be the guy, I think regardless, it would be extreme disappointment for the Dolphins not to walk out with a quarterback drafted in the first round in this draft.
Wow. All right. So now you want Tua at 5, but would you trade up if you feel that somebody else is going to move in front of you? Would you give up picks to trade up for the often injured one?
Yeah, that's the cat and mouse game, and I think that's going to be a real challenge for Chris Greer because there's going to be a lot of lying going on in the next few months where people are saying, "Hey, this guy's trying to trade up with me. Are you able to give me a first round pick to move up?" And you don't know if he's telling the truth or not. You may have to call his bluff. So this is where Chris Greer will really earn his money to try to see if he can wade through all the noise versus what's reality. For me, I would try my best to keep those 3 first-round picks. I think that is the building blocks of this franchise. I think, you need a left tackle, you need an edge rusher, you need running back. You need so many holes. So they need to be collecting these picks, not trading them away. That being said, the most important thing for this draft is getting the quarterback. So if they love Tua and they are okay with the medicals and they feel like everything is everything and they are certain that a team is going to trade up and get them, then I don't have a problem with them going and making the move. I think that would be my last resort. But if they feel like they have to do it to get Tua and they love Tua, then go ahead and pull the trigger and go get your quarterback.
Cameron Wolfe, of course, from ESPN. Cam, another story you've covered is Xavier Howard. What's the latest with X injury-wise and then obviously off the field with his court issue? What's the latest there?
Yeah, as far as his injury, I know he had been on crutches last time we saw him come out of court. From what I understand, he had a knee scope procedure, and the expectation was that he was going to be available to participate again when all-season workouts began in April. So it seemed to be a pretty, I guess, a relatively minor, surgery is never minor, but relatively minor compared to a lot of new surgeries. So he should be in position to be healthy enough to play at the start of the 2020 season, fully healthy without any limitations. His legal situation is a lot more murky. There hasn't been any update as of this point, but I think at some point there will be a court date and arraignment set, and we'll determine exactly how far this will go with this legal process. So the Dolphins have been really quiet on it since we talked about it at the season-ending news conference. I think they want to let the legal process play out. I know that it's only Xavier Howard, good Lord, is one of their best players, so they're not going to readily want to give up on him. But I think it may be tough if he's actually, convicted of these crimes for them to keep him or keep him in the same way they have. So I think they have the eyes on this, and obviously the NFL has their eyes on this, regardless of whether he's convicted or not, or found guilty of this. It's very likely he faces a suspension. So regardless of what happens, I think the Dolphins have to be prepared to miss him for maybe the next 6 games of the 2020 season. So that's all a factor in this, and I think this is a situation that they'd rather not deal with, but it is what it is at this point.
Cam, we'll wrap it up with this. The coach, Flores, has made several changes to his coaching staff. The newest one, Gerald Alexander, the DB's coach. I actually like the Changeli hire. I think I think it's more of a cultural thing that they're going to establish and then groom somebody to then take over in the next year or two and kind of get that thing running in the right direction that they want. But overall, for me personally, after winning 5 games with absolutely nothing, he's earned that right for me. Like, okay, well, you want to make your changes, go ahead. You got to know it better than I do. But everybody wants a hot take, and I've been kind of weak on this one that I'm like, hey, man, Flores has earned this. I'll take a wait-and-see approach to see how all of this works out. Do you have a hot take? Is it a positive, a negative? You're neutral on all of these changes overall to his coaching staff after this season?
Yeah, I think I want a better explanation than what we've got so far as looking for the best teacher. I think they've been extremely unorthodox, hiring a high school coach to run a position group, hiring several college coaches. I know you like the Changeli hire, but hiring an offensive coordinator who's been out of football for 3 years to replace a guy who I thought was doing a pretty good job in Chad O'Shea. All of these moves are really surprising, and I can't say for sure if they're good moves or bad moves, but I do hope that they are moves that that work out for the Dolphins, because if not, there are going to be a lot of questions for Brian Flores. He's still a young head coach, although we all think that he's shown a lot of promise, and I think he'll be a good head coach in this league. You don't want him making sort of rookie coaching mistakes because of lack of experience. So that'll be my big question going into this year. Do these coaches have enough NFL experience, enough in that realm to teach these guys? Because it is a different game. Even though these guys may be teachers, college football is different than the NFL. High school football is different than the NFL. So I don't know if the traits and the skill set is as easily translated as maybe Brian Flores thinks. So I'm cautiously, eager to see how they do. But Brian Flores he's putting his back behind these coaching moves, and he's confident that it'll work. So if you have belief in Brian Flores, then you have to give these moves a chance. But I definitely think there's plenty of reason to be skeptical, given the backgrounds of a lot of the coaches he's been hiring.
There you go. He does an excellent job covering the Dolphins, and he's one of the few guys in the world that can actually catch up to Antonio Brown. He is Cameron Wolfe, baby, ESPN NFL Nation reporter for the Miami Dolphins. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe. Cameron, as always, my brother, thank you for taking some time. Enjoy your weekend, my friend.
All right, thanks, Big O. Have a good weekend.
You got it, baby. Be good. There you go. Cameron Wolfe from ESPN. There you go. I like it.
You could be funny when you try, man.
I don't know. I don't know
Pretty
about
comical
that.
There, buddy.
I don't know if we are funny, but we try to entertain here and try to give you some half decent sports talk, so you can we try to, if we can make you laugh, we succeeded. If we can make you think, we succeeded. If we pissed you off, we succeeded. You know what I mean? It's just if we stirred some kind of emotion during the program, then we succeeded. If we got you to send in a text, if we got you to send in a tweet, eventually when we add freaking phone calls, you call us in, we got something, man. You know what I mean? More importantly, please reach out to our sponsors, because without that, we will not last. So that is the most important thing. Make sure you support our sponsors who have been so amazing in supporting us in this venture and really willing to grow with us, which we are growing every single day, and we are so blessed. So we thank you all for whether you watch us live, but, obviously the downloads is where it's at, and it has been out of control, the number of downloads, and we thank you for all of that profusely. I mean, we cannot thank you more for all of this.
Can I confirm that they're watching us?
What's that? Oh, okay. Really?
Plan a Vegas trip. That's
Yeah.
the email I just got.
Yeah. Well, that's they know, man.
Yeah,
They
they're
know.
watching. They're listening.
Myron asked me when we're on again on Mad Dog, and we're on next Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, leading up to the game from 3 to 6:25. We will be on, so I'm looking forward. That's a fun 3 hours to be a part of, man. Leading up to Super Bowl Sunday, leading up to the game, I love it, man. Get folks' predictions, get to talk to people, all of that, man. I freaking love it. And Myron says that he'll be tuning in, and we appreciate you, Myron, as always, man. Thank you. NFL DFS Playback TV says, sup, everyone. I want you to make tons of money as we will invest in, what is this? Something medicine of all of them. What the hell are you talking about, bro? I don't know. Invest in this show, bro. Okay? Do that. NFL DS Playback. Invest. That's what we need so we can keep this thing going. All right? Let's see. Big O saw them live. I couldn't go, but I know all their music. I guess you're talking about Rush. You never saw them live? They're awesome, man. I believe you will see Rush again. Not the whole band, because obviously we just lost Neil Peart. I think Geddy and Alex Lifeson will tour now. I think they weren't touring because of Neil and because of their friendship and their bond. And they have been touring on their own, doing different things. Lifeson's played with another band and everything. And they've done like festivals where they've popped up in different places. They have the bug. Neil did not. I think that they will, in time, I think within you saw the Eagles continue right after Glenn Fry passed away. A lot of people thought, Don Henley will wrap it up and he'll only do solo. And I thought the same thing. And the Eagles went on to not replace Glenn Fry, but use a couple of voices, including his son, to fill in for Glenn Fry, and they have continued to tour, keeping the music alive. I believe Rush will do that, and they will get a Mike Portnoy. They will get a Jason Bonham. They will get a type of, incredible drummer.
You have to.
Well, yeah, of course. But it'll be an elite guy that they will get that will then play the concert. And here's my prediction. What the Who do with John Entwistle, where they bring on a video of him playing bass in a song or two, and the crowd goes crazy, obviously, because John Entwistle was one of the freaking greats of all time. You talk about the Who, bro. You talk about Keith Moon. You talk about Entwistle. You talk about Townsend and then Daughtry. They are all elite at everything that they were doing. You know what I mean? And so that's what I think Rush will do. They will find an elite drummer to play in the shoes of Neil Peart and honor Neil Peart, and they will bring on Neil Peart. So for those of you that did not get to see Rush in its original lineup, you will see 2/3 of it down the line. Mark my words. That's my prediction. Lock it in stone. It's going to happen.
But they will do it classy and give it some time.
Just like the Who.
Yeah.
Just like the Eagles. They'll give it some time. But
And
you can't wait too long, Bill, because unfortunately,
a year, a little, somewhere
they don't
between a
have
year,
time.
2.
they don't have time, Bill. They're not 30 years old. So
Yeah, but they can wait a year.
every year you wait, it's a year on Geddy Lee's voice. So you have to, I think they will wait, but not as long as,
I think 1 year.
maybe that.
I think 1 year.
Yeah, maybe that. But it'll be around that, just like the Eagles did.
And a drummer,
I'm telling you.
You got to bring a bad ass drummer
Well,
to do Neil Peart, the professor.
Mike Portnoy knew about the cancer, he's tight with Neil. Neil doesn't talk to anybody. Okay, I read the article of Portnoy, and Portnoy was talking about that, how he knew about it for a while, and he just, like, out of respect that, because Neil trusted him.
Extremely private person.
And there's a reason why I've mentioned Portnoy as a replacement, because they're going to know about that relationship, and if there's that symbiotic type of connection between those two, and Portnoy has such respect for him, and Portnoy is one of my favorite drummers personally. I think he's one of the greatest drummers of all time. He's in that top 25 list. Whatever you want. I'm not going to get into arguments with you guys on this. But, for me, he's one of the greatest. Where you want to put him, I don't give a rat's ass. But he's one of the best of all time for me. And he would be one of the guys that I would pick to do that. You know what I'm saying? A Jason Bonham I would pick, because that's a guy that has earned that right, respects the great ones like his dad, and he talks about all kinds of drummers in high regard. And he's a guy that other people have trusted to be in their bands. You know what I'm saying? He's been in several bands now with all kinds of great artists. He's a guy that moment would not be too big for him either. He would embrace it. So guys like that, I think, would fit that role of Neil Peart. So there you go. That's my prediction, and I'm sticking to it. And I think it's going to happen when it's all said and done. And guess what? I'll be there. I'll be there to see that concert. I'll be there to support the guys. I'll be there because I'm a fan. I love Rush, man.
Great music, man.
Yeah, incredible music. Some of the best lyrics of all time. Okay, that is just, when you talk about lyricists, Geddy Lee is one of those great ones, man. Just amazing. That band was great in writing songs. So, yeah, there you go. So, Ty or Myron, I think it was Myron, I'm sorry. Myron, you will get to see Rush, my brother, okay? Without Peart, but you'll get to see him, at least. You'll get that chance. Don't pass it up. And don't be, here's kind of this new age attitude about certain things. People get old. People die. And that's life, unfortunately. And the memories can die with them if you want. And that's fantastic. And those of us that were able to enjoy certain memories, that's great. But let's not cheat others from at least enjoying a part of that experience. Because I hear that attitude when Queensryche comes to town. Oh, Jeff Tate is not in it. Well, dude, go see Todd LaTorre. He does a really good job of keeping that music alive, and they do a good job. If you get to see Jeff Tate solo, great, fantastic. But the guys at Queensryche are doing their best, and they deserve your support. Foreigner. We all know that Lou Gramm can't do Lou Gramm anymore. Lou Gramm can't do Lou Gramm. Okay, well, Mick did the best he could to find a guy that does a good job of keeping it alive. And if you love Foreigner's music, go enjoy it, man. They do a good job overall. I know it's not Lou Gramm, but nobody will ever be Lou Gramm. You go to Queen. I get it, man. Freddie Mercury's dead. I understand the greatest rock voice of all time is dead. But Adam Lambert does an awesome job, man. He's a great performer, too, on top of all of that. He fits that bill to a T. If there was anybody that could do that role, they found him. He's as flamboyant as Freddie was. He's super talented in his own right. He's got a great voice. Nobody can ever be Freddie. But damn, don't cheat yourself, man. The other three guys are Hall of Famers. The other three guys, just like Queen, are some of the best at what they've ever done. And they deserve your Hall of Fame attention. And if you go to that Queen concert, I promise you, you will walk out going, damn, that was a hell of a show. I know it's not Freddie, but man, let's give Lambert and Queen a lot of credit. They sound great. So sometimes it's not perfect. The Eagles aren't perfect either now because there's no Glenn Frey. But damn, dude, those two guys do an awesome job of filling in and making it sound great. And the music is still alive. Enjoy it. Embrace it. Sometimes there are those situations where, okay, I know it's not Steve Perry, but damn, Arnel Pineda does a really good job. And you'll walk out of that Journey concert going, man, they sounded great. Neil Schon shredded for 2 hours. The band was tight. Jonathan Cain is a god on the keyboards. I'm happy, man. Arnel does an excellent job as a front man. Sometimes, you know what? Give it a chance.
We have to relocate, sir.
Okay. All right. My music soliloquy on replacement singers is done. And
well, for now.
For now.
For now.
Yes. I'm sure it'll come up again.
Yes, I guarantee.
Sure it'll come up again.
I guarantee it will.
At one point or another. But, I'm just saying, give it a chance. All right, we wrap it up here. We thank Andre Fernandez, of course. We thank Cameron Wolfe for joining us here on the program, Larry Schlossberg, and all the amazing people out here at Craig Zinn. Amazing. Always out here at Craig Zinn. Acura. We love it. We'll be at Hialeah Park in the afternoon from 1 to 4. So come on out and join us. We'll have some guests. We'll have plenty of talk. You can, of course, gamble and wager on any track across the country.
Have some incredible
Champion
food.
Simulcast Center. The food is awesome. You can enjoy the poker room where we're going to be out in the second floor. A beautiful poker room.
Get a massage.
Get a massage. Great food. Non-smoking. Nobody will be blowing smoke in your face. Non-smoking casino. Beautiful windows so you can look out. The incredible architecture. The landscaping. It's Hialeah Park. We'll be out there this afternoon, 1 to 4. Come on out and join us. We love you for supporting us. Bill, excellent work. We continue our work. John Cassio, all the great people that are part of this. 300Bs. We love you for it. We'll see you at 1 o'clock. Be good.
Talk to you in a couple.